Welcome, guys. Another episode of the Gliders on Bet WGB TV. My name is Emmanuel Sabasin, and I can tell you for free at this point, maybe Mikolo and Timothy need to hold me on this show because here we go from Fabrizio's. Here we go to Oinstein's Bomber to Paul Joyce Dagger. There's no Liverpool fan out there who doesn't know who Paul Joyce is. So, from all this exclusive overnight and heading into the studio, Alexander Isak. Here we go. That Fabrizio, intro. Always gives me goosebumps. So, spare me some thoughts if you see me do anyhow on this show. It's my show today, but I'm not alone. I've got Mikola and Timothy on the show today. They're just looking at me, all envious, all jealous. Liverpool defeated Arsenal yesterday by that one goal. Supposed to lie madness from over 30 yards free kick. It's another beautiful way to welcome you to the Gliders on BetWGB TV. Mikolo, good to have you on the show again today.
It's good to be back. I know that right now you're not supposed to eat for like 2 days or 3 days. You are feeling really filled, and congratulations to Liverpool fans. Finally got their man.
Yeah.
And congratulations to the man himself. I think he finally got his move. He knew that it was coming. He was never going to go back to Newcastle, and then it was really nice weekend. Nice weekend of football, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, Timothy, good to have you also on the show as well.
Yeah, good Emmanuel to be back to the studio and talking sports, enjoying the show, having fun and all of that. Yeah, an interesting week, and we expect more drama today. Transfer deadline day has always been, especially this summer, transfer deadline there has always been something that you do not expect some transfer deals to happen. I remember the one for Mesut Ozil and the likes that have always happened in the past. So even fans would not know that this deal was eventually going to happen.
Would there be any moment that beats that Osaze's moment where you drove to waiting for the transfer to happen?
I don't think so though.
Deadline day dramas.
The beauty about transfer deadline day is that firstly, the drama of there's that place where you're looking forward to, are we going to eventually sign this player?
Yeah.
Which player are we signing? You are linked to so many players. At least for the next 4 or 5 months, you know that there's not going to be any transfer talk regarding your player. So you can focus both as a coach and as a fan. But yeah, good to be back on the show. And yeah, NPFL, another match day too. Was not the best of weekend for us, but yeah, we did not lose.
Well, good to have the guys back on the show as well, and we hope to delve in deeper as this show progresses. The guys have already given us a clue what the show will entail, transfers here and there. Nigerian players also no left out. Of course, it's deadline day across the globe, so we'll touch on these transfers. We'll delve in deeper, especially into the Alexander Isak transfer. And Timothy rightly said NPFL went down match day 2, so all this and more we'll be giving you on the Gliders. Don't go anywhere. We'll go on our very first break on the show, and when we get back, we'll head straight into it. Welcome back, guys. It is still the Gliders on Bet WGB TV, and as you can see on your screens, like we always do on the show, you can always enjoy the very best of the Bet WGB platform. Just go there, sign up, and use our promo code. It is Gliders, GLIDERS, and you can claim that bonus credits for you to enjoy the very best of the platform. And also remember to bet responsibly. Now back on the show. The news broke overnight. I don't know. I eventually, see this happening, even though majority of football fans out there didn't like how it panned out, especially the behavior of the player. Down into, we're talking about Alexander Isak now. Down into refusing to train. At some point, when Newcastle signed the German striker Walter Matthäus, you felt this might be happening. Now, as player power eventually won, in this transfer, because we saw Alexander Isak, he was steadfast in his decision. He wants to go, he won't train, he wants his dream move to Liverpool. And not just Isak, everywhere players are pushing, fighting for their respective moves. Johan Wissa also released a statement over the weekend that he wants to leave. He wants to, Brentford are blocking his move. So with this Isak saga finally over, would you say, Mikolo, would you say player power eventually has done it in football?
I think eventually, if you look at the whole outlook of sports, unfortunately, as much as you don't want to admit it, you just have to understand that I think players wield a much bigger power in some sort of sense in this sport because we are so people focused sometimes that we forget that clubs also sometimes have a very big stake, and much of the investment also comes with it. And it's a two-way thing because sometimes we've also seen clubs try to hold on to players against their, or try to push out players against their will, players that want to stay, and then now players are also returning the favor. I just personally, I feel like there's probably like a group chat somewhere. There's every possibility of there be a firm somewhere where club organizations, club directors, and these guys speak about certain players and how they want to like.
And it's not playing out there in the media.
Yeah, that's not playing out.
Faces.
There's a lot that goes into transfer than what we know, and I just have that feeling that there's some things that goes on behind the scenes. Players not signing new deals. Oh, okay, like for example, what happened with Trent? Oh, don't sign a new deal. We can pay you off in this way. Oh, Konate, don't sign off a new deal. An agent is meeting up with your agent at the back in the hotel somewhere on an holiday somewhere that you just like. We football fans just think it's very random link up. Sometimes it's not random link up. Maybe they are meeting your mother somewhere and just saying, oh, don't sign this contract, we're going to be able to pay you off in this time. So gentleman agreements and all of this. So there's a whole lot that goes on, and I feel like in this situation player power eventually won, but I just don't like the way it panned out. And that's not also to say I'm trying to justify clubs holding on to players against them. I just feel like
especially when they have contracts,
especially if a contract is binding, I just feel like gentleman agreements should be binding. And over the years, some clubs, some particular directors have been very fond of not being able to release players when you say so. There's gentleman agreements. There's the likes of Sporting. There's the likes of Daniel Levy. There's also the likes of the Napoli man, Mauricio.
Yeah.
So these are people that are very notorious for contracts. Contract delaying or not playing by the books and all of this. And I just feel like it's too much drama. And congratulations to Isak, finally got his due. I don't like the way it all panned out, but I mean it works out for him because eventually when you look at things at the likes of Jackson, look at what he's currently going through with Chelsea, not getting playing time, and now Delap is injured. It was about selling his dream move. It was about being pushed out. You understand? So players have been pushed out all of the times. Sterling now is also been. I read this morning. Sterling is given 48 hours to find a club, or else they're going to terminate his contract. So what do you want to say about that? So it goes both ways, and I feel like we should just always find an amicable gentleman agreement to come to. But congratulations to Isak. I feel like his mind has left Newcastle a very long time ago, and there's no coming back from that.
So talking about gentleman's agreement, I mean a lot has been said that put gentleman agreements aside. Whatever agreement you're having, it should be on paper. Now, we know sometimes you talk to people, maybe not on paper, and you have this sort of agreement, with them, and eventually it doesn't play out. Do you agree, Timothy, with that thought that gentleman's agreement or not, whatever you are agreeing should be on paper? Because it says a lot about, for me, it says a lot about one's integrity. If you have a gentleman agreement, yes, it's not on paper, it should be on paper. So why not honor that gentleman agreement in the end? Because Wisa came out to say that he has it written that Brentford will agree to allow him go. He's made sure that there was a gentleman agreement and it's also written. So what does it say about your integrity at the end of the day? Because I've seen agents, I was on Sky Sports a couple of days ago, I saw an agent speaking that it doesn't care about the gentleman's agreement. Whatever you're signing, sign it on paper. But at the end of the day, integrity matters as well. So what can you say about the whole gentleman agreement thing and all that?
Well, I think I'll pick it up from where Bikolo made his thoughts. It's just to say that no one is the bigger sinner and no one is the bigger saint for clubs and both players. Like Mikolo did say, you see these clubs, he had already made the instance of Jackson. Let's take a look at Manchester United now. Rasmus Højlund did everything possible to say he was going to play for Manchester United.
He wants to fight for his place.
You pushed him out eventually. That is a place of, a player, the club trying to push out a player. Then if a player now comes out that I'm not going to play for this club, let's say, Bruno Fernandes comes out. Like, that's the biggest player in Manchester United now. And says, I'm not going to play for Manchester United. Then he probably goes on strike. He doesn't report to training. He puts out a statement on like social media. Then the fans, firstly, or the board of directors, the executives, then they begin to see it as, okay, this is a player that we have on contract. And most times people are saying, this player is on contract, but this player is on contract. Højlund is on contract with Manchester United, and Manchester United decided that they wanted to force him out. Even the likes of Iheanacho and even all of those, maybe Sancho, as attitude aside, the player did not say that they were not going to play for Manchester United. Just because of their attitude, you decided that okay, you wanted to push them out. So it's sometimes not tilt towards anybody. And like I just say, I started. No one is the bigger sinner, and no one is the bigger sin, because sometimes clubs, if you look at it on their side, they can be right, and sometimes on players' side they can be right. You use the Wisa instance. When you have an agreement with the player that okay, we'll be selling you. Even this Isak deal, there was an exclusive that Isak had told Eddie Howe at the end of last season, or towards the end of last season, I think after they won the Carabao Cup, they wanted to leave the club, and I thought he had a discussion with the chairman of the club, so they wanted to leave the club. But look at the old drama that panned out before they could eventually let him go. This was someone that he has given you everything since he came to the club. No attitude. Sometimes even if you like say you want to even be Carlos or something, you look at the kind of player that you are trying to do that thing for. This is a player that has done everything possible with his goal scoring.
Yeah, won the Carabao Cup,
won the trophy, qualified for the Champions League and all that. So, like I did say, it's sometimes dicey to say, okay, let's support the club or let's support the player, but sometimes you just have to be in the middle too, because you cannot say that okay, this is the person that is right and this is the person that is wrong. But I mean, there's a whole lot that goes on with transfers, and you cannot really tilt towards one person and say, okay, this player is right, this club is right, and all that. It's just that, okay, at the point it is happening, who is it favoring more? At the point it is also not happening, who is it favoring? I mean, look at the instance. Someone made a post one time and was like, Liverpool fans are angry that Arnold left Anfield the way he left. That was someone that his contract ended. And the person has said the same Liverpool fans are happy with what Isak is doing to Newcastle.
To come to
like,
Liverpool.
I don't know if you get it.
Yeah.
He was forcing a move away from Newcastle. This is someone that his contract has not expired.
And Newcastle are happy with what
Wisa is doing. So I mean, there's a link around that, and that tweet
merry-go-round.
makes sense. It makes sense to me because look at it. That's why I said nobody is really
I hope
pure
this
in all of
transfer
this
window
drama.
actually opens everybody's eyes to know that we are all hypocrites.
Honestly.
in the way he actually
Club-
favors us.
Yeah.
But I also feel like now looking at it factually, I feel like clubs and people in charge of these clubs also have people that they have very good mutual relationships with, and sometimes it's beyond just the player. It's sometimes a soldier go, soldier come kind of thing. It is because eventually you see that the people that manage these big players are older men, experienced agents that have relationships with the same older administrators. So it might not necessarily be a bias towards Isak. It might be a bias towards their agency. Maybe I'm having frictions with this agency and it's now affecting Isak. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's not directly a
Player
who is
problem.
managing Ademola Lookman, who is Ademola Lookman and what he has done. It's who is in the conversation, who is in the boardroom, who is in the discussion room. Is George Mendes or whosoever that is discussing your deal, do we have a very good relationship? Is
That's
this
a
person
valid
willing
point.
to bulge on the things I say? Is it an ego clash? Do you understand? Because, for example, imagine Jose Mourinho representing you and Daniel Levy is the one that is selling you. Do you understand? There is an ego clash there. The kind of things that I've said about him, the kind of people you've made friends with. So I saw how the owner of Brighton, they asked him in an interview about how excited he was on selling another player to Chelsea, and with a very big smile on his face said, "They are my very good customers." And I was discussing with my friend that for every time that Chelsea goes to buy a player from Crystal Palace, there's no issues. From Brighton, there are no issues. They signed their coach, signed Caicedo, and they're always going there with good money. And there's no really argue on, what is the price there? Are you trying to lowball me? Are you trying to use my head? They just come and agree. So it happens like that on so many occasions. So it can also be, sometimes this friction is beyond just, player respect or agent respect. Sporting directors can have clash with egos of players. We've seen it in so many instances. Coaches can have issues with ego of players. So these people are they are personas too at clash in some of these discussions, in some of these boardrooms. Imagine you just have to discuss imagine Edafe having to discuss a player deal with probably an agent of somebody that they've had clash before. Do you understand? Now imagine having to sit in a discussion room and the friction that now happens. In the media, it looks like, this club is not looking to let this person go. But meanwhile, they can just be punishing you for the fact that that person is your agent. So there's a whole lot that goes into boardroom discussions. And, I just, because of the way my mind works, I just try to look at things beyond just what we see in the media. For example, I just imagine what somebody might have just told Trent like a season ago. It might have been 2 seasons ago. Jude just said, okay, these guys are looking to sign you. What's your current contract deal in this place? Okay, let's discuss with you, because I've seen how football works in Nigeria as well. I've seen how football works in Nigeria. You just come to a match, you just think like, oh, these people are on holiday. No, it's not on holiday. They are discussing. Before you know, agent is talking to one player. Oh, we need a left back, we need a right back. What's your current situation? Okay, what if we don't sign this contract and we give you this kind of money in this place? So these are some of the issues that happen beyond just what is happening in the forefront.
Yeah, football is like a daily activity, or
there's an
underworld. 9 to 5.
There's an underworld to football. There's an underworld to football.
The way people work 9 to 5 is also the same way. When footballers do their thing outside the footballing pitch itself, or maybe the training, you can see there's a whole lot, like Nicolo has said, meetings, text on WhatsApp.
I want to tell fans now that, imagine, do you know what Tottenham fans were feeling about Eberechi Eze until he came out to say that he actually called Arteta? It could have just been, that was the saving grace for Daniel Levy, because they had the upper hand on signing Eberechi Eze for how long? And then when it was now confirmed that, oh, Arsenal were trying to hijack the deal, it now looked as if Daniel Levy was not a serious person. I saw Tottenham fans cursing him out until it now came out that it was Eze that actually himself picked up the phone and said, Arteta, do you want to call me? So these are some of the so many issues that we don't even know about. If he didn't come out to say that one, would have just thought, oh, Tottenham just bottled this thing. They were not able. Some people will say maybe Arsenal is stingy, that's why they did not sign this player. What if the player already had a
so you guys are technically saying it's beyond gentleman agreements, because honestly, if you're in that position in the future, will you do gentleman's agreements with a footballer? Because I mean, it speaks a lot about your integrity as well.
I don't think there is integrity in football world. In business, I don't think there's integrity in business. To be honest, now that you're looking at it in business of that magnitude, I don't think there's integrity. You cannot tell me that the owner of Napoli has integrity,
because Isak in his statement said promises were made.
Yeah, like I said, he had discussion last week towards the end of the season with both the coach and the chairman. I'm sure they would have had conversations. They go to the offices, they see in training and all of that. But
that betrayal of trust that is to happen. That betrayal of trust, like, bro, it's business. So every 1 million, every 2 million, every 3 million added feels like something that is very grand in the big scheme of things. So
in a nutshell, signing of the summer, Isak to
I think it's
Liverpool.
the biggest news, biggest signing for someone that is that well proven in the Premier League, to switch to a big side in the Premier League as well. You know, he's already done it, like he's already made a claim in the Premier League already. It's not like he's coming from a different league like the likes of Gyökeres or Sesko, and there's he needs time to come and prove it in the league. This is someone that is fighting for the golden boot with the likes of Haaland and Salah before now. So now coming to a Liverpool side, definitely signing of the season in the Premier League and even in the world. I think at this point, I don't think there was a bigger signing in the world at this
Alexander
point.
Isak. Timothy, let me come to you. I don't know if I would come to Mikolo on this, because I already know where his thoughts will teach towards. Is it to Arsenal, Saint-Maximin to Spurs? Who got the better deal?
Is it to Arsenal?
Both number 10s. I mean, Saint-Maximin, the potential he's got.
Yeah, is it to Arsenal for me? Because I know it's difficult, but is it to Arsenal? Arsenal is a bigger club. No matter the way you want to see it, forget, there's no trophy and all that. The fan base, the history of the club, it's a bigger club. Tottenham Hotspur do not have any history that you can say, okay, this is somewhere, even if it doesn't happen in the next 4, 5, 10 years, you can still say that, okay, this is a club with so much
look
legacy.
At the players now. The players, you know, who got the better deal.
Yeah, of course, it's still easy to Arsenal, because if you look at Arsenal, their creativity, like I said on the last episode, there's that place where you need competition for the likes of Martin Odegaard, and they're playing in the Champions League. Arsenal will always compete. They would always want to compete. They have like bigger competition in what they do every season for their players, for the coaches, for the executives, and everything about the club. They want to compete. So Eze got the better deal. Saint-Maximin, I don't think, looking at the trajectory of the way he has gone in the last 4, 5 seasons, he has moved to different places, and it looks like there's no stability for him. I think he went to PSG at a point. It was also at PSV. I think he almost went to RB Leipzig or one of those German clubs also. So it's
owned by RB Leipzig actually. So
Yeah, okay. It was so it's no brainer that Eze got the better deal. For someone like Xavi Simons, this is maybe another test. Would it work out? He has gone to 3-4 different places and it has not looked like it will work out. But Eze has been with Crystal Palace for so long, and then this is just like, okay, let's push him into this place and it would eventually work
Push
out.
him into a bigger team in
Yeah.
a league
Yeah.
that is already performing in.
Yes, you
Xavi
get
Simons, I feel like Xavi Simons' potential is more hyped than what he has actually achieved.
He has not
You
really
understand? So
shown that,
he has
okay,
always
he has
been
been
that
stable.
promising. So, and you can never bank on just promises.
Yeah.
There's so many
and
promises.
Eze, he knows the league. He's been in England,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I think I agree when you say Arsenal got the better deal. But moving on, still on transfers. I mean, Nigerian players are not left out as well. So let's look at some
Tea time.
Super Eagles footballers who
time.
might be making that move before 7 p.m. deadline day. I mean, there's Tolu.
Oh, is it 7 p.m. now?
Yes, it's 7 p.m. So there's Tolu to Wolves. We hear is currently on his way.
Hey, man,
Yeah,
give us
there's a
exclusive.
picture.
Man, give us exclusive.
No, we have to stay professional. We have to put it that way. But
There's
I mean,
a picture online already.
yeah,
from
already. Yeah.
Fabrizio,
So Tolu to Wolves. Crisanto Suche was in the picture earlier on.
I remember
Now
on the
we
last
hear,
episode we were discussing him to Wolves.
talking about how if it's going to be a better move. Now we hear Palace now are close to getting him. David Ornstein, one of the most respected transfer experts, come out to say Bayern are looking at Ademola Lookman with all that has been happening with Atalanta as well. So a lot's going down when it comes to Nigerian players. Cyril Dessers, I mean, going to Panathinaikos, we heard just before he will link up with the national team. So I might miss a couple. So, but looking at all of this, which one excites you the most, and what can you say about these moves regarding Nigerian players? Let me start with you, Mikolo.
I think it will definitely be Ademola Lookman to Bayern. I feel like he already deserves that, and that was what he was trying to secure by going to AC Milan.
Inter Milan,
Inter
please.
Milan
Yes.
before. Well, you guys didn't sign him. Yeah, that was what he was trying to secure because now he's proving it in Atlanta. Led them to a title, to an European Cup, and then now he's also reigning African Player of the Year. You just know that he needs to get into that next year, and that next year is being able to do this consistently on European night in a big team. And you just know that what is currently missing is the titles, is the the awards. He's been able to do it. You just know that this is a very good player. He's been able to banish the ghost of all this trial and error that he was doing with the likes of Fulham, Everton, and all of that over the year. He has now finally found his form. He has found his rhythm with Atlanta, and now what is left as a player to move forward is to get to a very big team where all eyes are on you, where you can always also influence on the biggest stages. And I don't think there's a bigger place except for Inter, of course, in his own league. Going to Bayern is almost as equivalent to going to Inter. Meanwhile, Bayern is also bigger because of the fact that they have a much more bigger imprint on their league. You just know that you cannot go 2 seasons or 3 seasons without winning the league with Bayern, and that's going to be a very big deal for him. Fine, he's going to be having the likes of Luis Diaz, who is also just settled into the side as to compete with. But I just feel like Ademola Lookman can hold his own. Very good letter proven goal scorer. Can always hold his own. Will be playing Champions League season in, season out. Would win cups, win the league, and then can get considerable number of goals. Very big move for him personally. Very big move for Nigeria as well. To be able to see such a one of our biggest stars on the grandest of stages. Can also maybe still reclaim the African Footballer of the Year. Maybe after he loses this one to Salah, maybe the next one, if he starts playing regularly with a team like Bayern, does well if we qualify for the World Cup, the Nations Cup, and then he can just continue to be that guy for us.
Well, he's still on transfers. Let's talk Chukwueze to Fulham. We hear that he's in London waiting for the go ahead. Now, what does this mean for Fulham? Timothy, 3 Nigerians potentially in one club. Is it a good omen for you having too many Nigerians? It's a large number, 3 in one particular club. We know on paper it might look like a good move for Samuel Chukwueze, but 3 Nigerians in one club. If it happens, does that sit well for you?
It sits well. Because if it doesn't sit well for the club, then they would not be making such moves. So if it sits well with the club, then it doesn't. I don't have any opinion on whether it sits well with me or not. But if you look at the player, Calvin Bassey, Alex Iwobi, and if you bring in Samuel Chukwueze, I'm sure there's a team they would have probably seen to be able to say they want to bring him in. And Fulham also, they've not really done so much business in this transfer window, so they've looked at their options. He's not playing first team football at AC Milan where he is right now, and at Fulham.
Are we disappointed with how it has panned out so far?
With
because
AC Milan.
Yeah, with AC Milan, because it's something we were excited when it happened. Yes,
yes. For on the player side, I'm not impressed that going to a club like AC Milan that have no disrespect to them, I don't see the likes of, except maybe Pulisic, I don't see why Ruben Loftus-Cheek should be starting ahead of you, or a what's his name? There's a
Yunus Musa.
Yes, Musa, like that kind of player. I don't see why they should be starting ahead of you, or even the Jimenez who starts ahead of him. So if you go to AC Milan and you can't play regular team football, even substitution, you are coming towards maybe the 88th, 70-something minutes, then I do not know why. I do not know what has happened. Maybe the coach does not have faith in you. But if you look at the former coach, who was, I think, the former coach was, what's his name? Conceição. At the end of last season, Sergio Conceição came in to replace. I think he came to. I can't remember, but Sergio Conceição was the end of. It was the one that brought them in last. It was the one that finished with them last season. It did not use him so much, and now there's a new coach in Maximiliano Allegri. I think 2 games or 3 games in, he still hasn't found a way to say that okay, you're in my plan. So the signs are clear that you do not have a chance in this club. So just move. Hopefully, maybe you will go into the Premier League. But it's just sad when, if you see a player like Chukwueze cannot perform or cannot play regular team football in a league like Serie A, which doesn't have so much running or energy to, because in Serie A you don't have to run so much like you do in the Premier League. Is it not in the Premier League where there's so much of pace, there's no much time on the ball? I mean, before you even try to control the ball, there's already 1 or 2 persons around you. So is it in that kind of league where you can thrive? I do not know if it would happen, but for me, looking at it from that perspective, I think it's a good move for him. Fulham have not signed so many players. They've lost a few players also. So I think coming in can be a good one for him. But let's see how it goes for him.
Yeah, I was watching that game against Chelsea over the weekend, and I look at that Fulham team. I think he has a place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the starting lineup.
Have like so many players.
I felt for Fulham in that game as well. You know, the OVAR drama, the apology as well. Like we've seen last season, PGM always coming out to give apologies and stuff like that. But you know, Samuel Chukwueze is going to be really tough. You know, in England, the spotlights now will be on him. I mean, he's going to be visibly watched by a lot of Nigerians. No, you know, he will be there. We have Calvin Bassey there, but you know, going to Fulham as well. I mean, for a player that it's in looks like he will get the playing time under Marco Silva, who's the head coach of Fulham. So Mikolo, let me also come to you, hear your thoughts on this Samuel Chukwueze's move to Fulham. Do you think this is where he needs to thrive? He needs to show what he's got. Samuel Chukwueze at Villarreal, I mean, he made names. He established himself. You know, that move to Milan was
You know,
that move to Milan was just disappointing for me in the end. But do you think this is where he needs to revive his career if the move eventually happens?
I think these things happen. Sometimes you make moves that don't eventually take you to the next step that you feel like you get to, because we've seen players thrive in their former clubs, make a move and it doesn't work out, and maybe get a loan move and then they just rejuvenate themselves and get their form back. You know, we've seen, like I was saying with Ademola Lookman, he came to Fulham, went to Everton, all those infamous penalty kicks and Leicester. So there were a lot of moves before he eventually found somewhere that was able to establish himself. And so you just believe that this kind of move is also like a very fresh start for Samuel Chukwueze. Now, to also be making this move under Marco Silva means that the manager trusts him and wants to bring him in. We've seen what Alex Iwobi has become under Marco Silva while he was Everton, and then eventually still brought him back to Fulham, and now he's playing very good football with them. So I believe that if Samuel Chukwueze can come there and then work hard enough, because going by the interviews we've seen, going by the films we've heard about Marco Silva, is a very disciplined tactician.
Coach, yeah.
You want you to do a lot of running, you have to do a lot of playing as well. So if you can put in that effort, this is not a matter of the coach doesn't like me. There's some form of stability with Fulham, unlike AC Milan, where you've probably met a different manager. Now there's a different manager that's looking to say, okay, I don't like you. Now you have a chance to say that, oh, this club I'm coming to right now, the manager has been there for a while. There's a form of stability there, and if this manager is looking to say, okay, come to this club, then it means he has plans for him. Now for him to now be able to play into that plan is the next step for Samuel Chukwueze, and I really wish he's going to put in the hard work. There's a lot of hope for him, and I think it's quite disappointing in the first place that someone that is a starter with Super Eagles was not able to hold his own ground in AC Milan, but that's far gone. That's already in the past already. Now it is a new step for him. He has 2 Nigerians in the squad that can always be of help to him, and welcome him better into the squad. And talking about Nigerians, I don't feel there's there's going to be any upsetting of the balance in the team. Fulham and Nottingham Forest are the two family clubs in the Premier League, as well as maybe Crystal Palace. I know there's this communism, that there's this community that they have, and I just feel like Chukwueze coming is also a very vibes player and will fit right into the vibes of Alex Iwobi as well as Calvin Bassey into the squad. And if he's able to work hard, I believe he's going to get the necessary welcome. I watch Alex Iwobi's vlogs and I see how much family they have, what they have going on in Fulham. And Samuel Chukwueze, knowing the kind of player that he is, he's also a very funny lad, very jovial, but he has to put in the hard work, and I believe he can thrive in the Premier League. He also has the pace to be able to match up, but he just has to put in more hard work.
For signings, if there's one manager or one club in England who definitely needs players, it is Crystal Palace, because they've lost. They will potentially be losing 2 key players. Eze has left for Arsenal. Gueye might just be going to Liverpool, but we hear the stance from the manager, Oliver Glasner, is strong. He doesn't want to lose Gueye, even though there's a potential that they might lose him for free next summer. Steve Parish wants to sell, but the manager is sticking to his gun. So we wait to see how that one pans out. Now they are close to securing Chrysanthus Uche. Do you see him as a replacement for Ebere Chieze? Because this is a player we hear Wolves were close to signing, a couple of days ago, but he wanted to stay. He had to think twice about the move, but Getafe wants to sell. They need the money, and now Crystal Palace in the picture. So, what do you make of that? You rejected Wolves more like, and now you're going to Crystal Palace in England. So do you see him as a replacement for Eze, or what do you make generally of the signing if it happens, Uche to Palace?
I think it's a good signing. Whether I would now be able to fit into that shoe that Eze has left, because as much as you want to look at it, it may be a small club, but Eze's shoe at that club, whoever is coming in has to, if you can't hit the ground running at 100%, at least you have to give 70, 75 whenever you are being called upon, every match day in which you have to play, because there's a whole lot that Eze does. Aside the set piece prowess in which he has, he can make, the kind of passes he can give, the connection he has with Mateta, all of those things he brings, his final passes, his shots, and all of those goals that he scores. There's a whole lot that Eze does. So for Chrysanthus Uche, it's a very, very good move. Leaving Etafe, coming into Crystal Palace. We know how Crystal Palace will compete in the UEFA Europa Conference League. They'll be competing in that stage. They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in the Carabao Cup. They won the FA Cup last season, and they would always be that team that would fight.
Happy times actually at Crystal Palace.
They would always be that team that would fight as much as they can. They can always give tough teams. They can always give the top 6 or the bigger teams problems whenever they play. So it's exciting to watch. For Uche, I think it's a very, very good move. Whether he's now going to be able to fill that shoe is left to him, but I think he needs to take it upon himself and get to the club. If the deal eventually happens, he needs to know that, okay, when I'm getting to this club, there's a whole lot of pressure. Maybe not too much of pressure, but there's a whole lot of pressure that is upon me. I have to form a link up with Mateta. Thankfully for them, they are not losing Mateta, because we don't know, maybe before the end of the window, maybe Mateta.
Because imagine losing the spine in strike.
Exactly.
It's going to be very, very
that's
crazy.
why you can understand why Oliver Glasner doesn't want.
So, and these are some of the backdoor things that we're talking about. Now imagine Steve Parish knows that he
can lose him for free.
He has to sell. So these are the
it's about business for the owner, but it's about I need my player for the coach. So, and there's some of those times you have to. The coach and the owner has to, okay, let's have an agreement. This is how it has to happen. If we don't imagine losing a player for that on free next summer. Liverpool are willing to pay about £35 million, if I'm not mistaken, and cash him on the player. I know it's difficult for the coach on his side.
He scored over the weekend as well.
And someone even said maybe that's his last goal. Maybe that's the best way to sign up for Crystal Palace. But like we were saying about Chrysanthus Uche, it's a very, very good move. He has to get in, step up. I know it's the Premier League. I don't know if he has played in Premier League before. He has to get in, step up, and eventually make sure that if you can't deliver at 100% of what Eze does, you have to consistently deliver at least a 70-75% of what Eze would bring into the team. He can score goals, he can make dashing runs, he can also create. So we expect that he would bring all of those into Crystal Palace, and it's a good move for both Crystal Palace and both Uche himself.
Finally, on transfers, it's almost tea time. At Wolves. This is one. This is one that should I say dear to me, because I mean the player Tolu Arokodare. I followed the progression from the very onset. From box to box. I watched this guy. I covered so many of his games from the grassroots leagues, talking about the now Fusion Football Championships, the Sri League. I saw Tolu. I was like close up. These are players. Credit to box. They've given us some decent players who've really gone on to do better things for themselves. Even in the NPFL, the likes of Waliu Harrison as well. Came through the ranks of box to box as well. So, but for Tolu now, from there you went to Valmeras in Latvia. From there you went to, Cologne in Germany. From there you went to, Belgium. I had a close-up interview with him as well at some point. I'm happy to see where this is right now, because Wolves might just be announcing him just before the end of deadline day. Mikolo, tell us about this move. We get to see Tolu in the English Premier League. For a team like Wolves, could he have been better? Or, good way to start. He's going to play in the Premier League as well.
Definitely, always a good way to start. Getting into the Premier League is everybody's dream. And getting into there and being able to perform will definitely spur you to places. So whichever team you're able to get, whichever deal you're able to get to come into the league is always the first step in the right direction. Personally, you just know you're going to perform.
My only worry is that Wolves look like a relegation candidate, if you ask me.
I think it doesn't matter. Maybe he could have gotten a better deal with a better club, maybe. But going to Wolves from his club is always a step up. Do you understand? Coming to play in the Premier League, from Genk, fine, he's done all of the things. You just, this is a pathway. So there's a pathway from Nigeria to Latvia. So when you look at the progression, you just know that this is the next step. Getting into the top 5 leagues is always going to be the next step. And if this is the deal that comes after that such amazing season that he's had with Genk last season, then you just know that he has to take it. And, just like the likes of the players that have come into play in the Premier League, no matter how small the club is, if you're able to... this kind of clubs are where you can score 20 goals, you can score 15 goals as a player, and just name it a very good season for you personally, irrespective of where your club finishes. And also, a big fish in a small pond, right? You'd be able to perform very well. There's no pressure of you want to score a land or beat the big side. So whatever you do will be amplified in a very much better way, because you are playing for a smaller team. If you score 10 goals, if you score 15 goals for Wolves, it's a very dignified thing, because you are playing against the pack majority of the time. Wolves playing against the pack. So you are playing, you are the one that has been hunted instead of you being hunted. So that's the way it is for these small clubs. We've seen the likes of maybe even Timo Pukki playing for Norwich, smaller clubs, and just whatever they do in that little period of time is always very much amplified. So this is his chance to stake a claim. I'm really excited for him. I'm happy for him. I don't know him personally, but I've also followed his journey from afar for a while. And then there's just something that happens with getting fulfilled, you understand, getting that fulfilling move. And I think he's also friends with Jaguar, and that's so that progression, finally seeing somebody that makes that move, knowing that it is possible to also go through that route. He's had a lot of challenges. I'm sure he has his own stories as well that he wants to tell, and to have this move at the end of the day feels so satisfying and gratifying for him, and I'm very excited for him. Looking forward to watching him in the Premier League. Hopefully he scores against Liverpool.
Those are the A-list ones we could talk about as much as far as transfers is concerned. We also have Onyedika potentially going to Frankfurt, the says to Panathinaikos in Greece as well. So a lot will be going down just before deadline as far as Nigerian players is concerned. When we come here next time, we'll get a clearer picture of where the moves have eventually happened. Just before we go on another break, guys, any transfer stories regarding you two? Where would you be moving before the window shuts? Do you have any exclusive to maybe there's
exclusive bomber. Oh, I have exclusive for Arsenal fans. Gabi Martinelli to Saudi Arabia. Make it happen.
Well, it's been an exciting time. The transfer window is one part of football that you always want to look forward to. Guys, it is the international break, the very first of the season.
Guys, before we go away on the international break, there's a bomber. Breaking.
Just came in.
Just came in 48 seconds ago from Fabrizio Romano. Johan Wissa to Newcastle.
Here we go. Okay.
Deal Beverly agreed right now between the clubs. Brentford has sent formal proposal from Newcastle, and Wissa on his way for medical later today.
So players are getting their move.
Jadon Sancho to Aston Villa as well.
It is happening.
Lamens to Manchester United as well.
So the Liverpool effect everywhere is happening.
Transfer deadline day. You can't catch up. You have to do a live show. Like you have to be following a live show.
Arrives at Marseille.
Like there's so many.
Bournemouth signed Alex Jimenez on loan from Milan. This is
wow, the Jimenez I was still
that you were talking about
now.
Wow. I mean, you're going to see a lot of this happen just before deadline. A lot is going to happen. That's one beauty about transferring the ball, not for those behind the scenes, because a lot of movement, a lot of paperwork, documentations going on and on. So this is where they will get to be in the spotlight, and not just the footballers.
So I think Jadon Sancho to Aston Villa also clears the path for Martinez to Manchester United because it was all dependent on the deal.
I mean, PSR as well, sometimes also getting the picture of clubs willing to sell and all that. So a lot, like I said, will happen. It is deadline day, and it is also the first international break of the season. And when it comes to international break,
Sanchez to the playboy. Alexis Sanchez to Sevilla.
Making a move as well?
Wow. Alexis Sanchez to Sevilla. Here we go.
How old is he now, Alexis Sanchez? He should be over 30 plus and thereabout. Guys, we go on another break on the show, and when we return, we'll preview the Super Eagles game against Rwanda coming up this weekend. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. Still the Gliders on BetWGB TV. It's been exciting all through. I'm sure if you've been with us to this very point, you've enjoyed every bit of the analysis that the guys have given to you. Thank you so much for staying through to this very point. We have a few more minutes to go to the end of the show, so we want to urge you to keep it along with us till the very end. But meanwhile, before we head back to the show, as you can see on your screens, BetWGB giving you huge bonus credits for you to claim if you sign in on the platform with the promo code Gliders. Guys, now let's talk about the Super Eagles. Rwanda and South Africa up next, over the weekend. The first international break of the season. First up is against Rwanda. That game is on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. It will be played in Uyo at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium. Now, let's look at that game. The list, we were talking about the Super Eagles list, in the last edition of the show, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's been trimmed down now to 23. We know the final 23. I mean, the headlines in their attack is Victor Boniface has been dropped. He's not injured. Well, we don't know the reason behind that from Eric Chell. I don't know what that means, but the list has been trimmed down to. We talked about Ebenezer Harcourt as well. We always know he's not going to make the final cut, but, making that provisional list is always going to be huge. Now, Nigeria, Rwanda, Mikolo, make or break for the Super Eagles? Do you think they can afford to drop points in any games moving forward for the World Cup qualifiers?
Definitely. Having played 6 games and we have 7 points, currently 4th in there, and South Africa 13th, though we are still waiting on the decision of point deduction, and it's not looking really good for the Super Eagles. You can't be languishing in 4th position in a World Cup qualifier. I mean, it's not looking really good. So I know Eric Chell knows his job is cut out for him. I think it was pretty obvious after, all of the experiment and all of this drama of bringing in a foreign coach, what the tax was. I mean, we're never going to have an issue with qualifying for the AFCON or maybe even going for the AFCON. You just know that his work was cut out for him, and I really just hope that he already knows that. I know he already knows that because the pressure has always been there, about qualifying for the World Cup. We can't afford to sleep against Rwanda and especially against South Africa. And I know the players know that is what we currently need. We need to pick all maximum points. Even at that, it still doesn't feel like it is in our capability. But just to be able to be in that good standing, we need to pick all points first of all. So there's no distraction. I really hope we win convincingly. And even if we don't win convincingly, just win. Win in Rwanda, win in South Africa, and then we can discuss after that for the next phase of international break and maybe start all over the calculations again. Really wishing that we win. There's been a lot of, I feel like there's going to be a lot of tension. There's going to be a lot of tension if we do not pick maximum points in Uyo ahead of the next game, and there's going to be a lot of what has happened previously, blame shifting, this one happening, and for Eric Chell's sake and for the sake of the players and their mental health, I just really do hope that they perform very well.
And before that game, South Africa played on Friday against Lesotho. That game we played in South Africa as well. So if South Africa pick up maximum points, more pressure on the Super Eagles on Saturday against Rwanda. They did the job at the Horo Stadium in the first leg. Osimhen, a brace from Osimhen in a 2-0 win. Coming into this game now, Timothy, what are your expectations from Erichel and the Super Eagles team? And what do you want to see from this team when they step out on the pitch in Uyo against this Rwanda side?
Firstly, on the part of Erichel, I think he needs to be open-minded. Open-minded in the fact that, of course, you already have a setup. We all here know how he's going to set up.
You're talking about setup as well. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we all know how he's going to set up his team. But in-game management is necessary. I mean, as much as it can be, even if it's the first 10 minutes. I watched the World Cup in 2022. Yes, I watched the World Cup in 2022. Was it 2022? Yeah, 2022. What's the coach of France now?
Deschamps?
Yeah, Didier Deschamps. Nobody would have expected Didier Deschamps. I mean, at that point where Argentina were leading 2-0 in the first half, I wouldn't have expected to see a Marcos Thuram or Randall Colomwani coming in the 25th. I think it was not up to 30 minutes when he made that substitution. That shows you that he saw that the way this game is going, if we continue like this, we would have no chance. Even after first half, I'm not to talk of the second half.
Take some guts as well to make that change.
Absolutely. So that's this is a point where you have to make big calls. He made a big call against which game did he make a big call? Was it in the third game or in the second game? I'm talking about Erichel, and where he made one change. I can't remember the change he made. I think it was against Congo where he made some big calls and he dropped some players. Even though at that point it was not necessary anymore. Yeah. But this is the point where in-game management is necessary. You have to take that step. If you see that this is not working, if it's not even about changing the player, change the dynamics in which you are approaching the game. Of course, you have analysts, you have series of coaches on the bench. They are reading the game for you. You're on the sidelines. What you cannot see, they can see it. What Daniel cannot see, Fidelis can see. What Fidelis cannot see, this white guy who is his personal assistant can see it. So if you have 3-4 people on the bench, they would see they'll see things in different perspectives. And of course, as the head coach, it's your decision to make the final call. But I think you need to be open-minded, listen to what they are saying. Even if they are on their part, they also you feel that they are not delivering. It's on your case to deliver the World Cup. I said something when Erichel came in. The mess we are in the World Cup. Let's look at it coach by coach. For Jose Peseiro, 2 points, if I'm not mistaken. For Finidi George, I think it was how many points? We lost one and we drew one. That's 1 point on the part of Finidi. If you look at all the coaches that has played the qualifiers for us at the World Cup, as much as we have thrown sticks at Erichel for his tactics, his approach to games, he's still the one that has given us the best results. 4 points, if I'm not mistaken. He has given us 4 points. How many points do we have on the table now? We have 7 points.
Yes, 6 points off table toppers.
Yes, so on looking at the perspective, if you look at it, I mean, if you take it game by game, don't take it in the accumulation of, we have played 6 games. What Erichel has done in 2 games is a perfect one. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. He has done a perfect job. 2 games, 4 points. 4 from a possible 6 is a good result. But if you look at 7 from a possible, how many games? From a possible 2 times, is it 6? No, 3 times 6 from a possible 18. 7 from a possible 18 is not something we want to talk about. So where I'm heading
up to half.
Where I'm heading to is looking at what
6 games. 7 points.
Yeah, looking at what he has done for us, he has done a good job in terms of the qualifier itself on his own perspective, not bringing the accumulation of what Peseiro and Finidi George did. But the pressure is on him now to deliver. So I don't know if you get what I'm saying. The pressure will fall on him. He did not cause this mess, but he's the one that has to fix it. And any mess that happens from here on, he has to take responsibility and he has to ensure that we deliver that point. So there is no case of dropping points against. Firstly, starting with the game against Rwanda, it is a must-win game. It is an home game. You know that going to South Africa will be so much pressure. We know how the rivalry between Nigeria and South Africa can always be. So win the game against Rwanda, be open-minded, make in-game tactical switches at every minute you can.
I think my own problem, that's why I've been holding this, is the setup, right? So because this is our formation when we were playing against Zimbabwe. So it was Nwabali in goal, Bright Osai Samuel at right back, Schuster Kong and Calvin Bassey, and then Olaino on the left. Wilfred Ndidi in DM with his diamond formation. It was now Samuel Chukwueze, Lukman in the 10, and Alex Iwobi on the left. Then Moses Simon and Victor Osimhen
as the strikers.
So I think like that has always been like my issues with his setup, and this was something we were.
So you don't want to
about.
see that?
I don't want to see that. This is the same thing that we complained about in the Chan, and eventually it cost us playing. And save for individual brilliance in the Super Eagles squad. That's why when we were giving him the props for the 4 points that we've earned, the 2 goals that we got in Rwanda were from individual brilliances.
So you won't put it down. You won't put it down to the manager.
Yes, the goal that we got in Uyo against Zimbabwe, where Osimhen just got the ball, they launched the ball, and then he just used his long leg to take it away from the guy before eventually chipping. It was from individual brilliance. I don't think it had anything to do with the setup of whatever it is that he put, because eventually I remember Nigerians were also complaining about the way we were playing, the fact that we were putting Olaina on the left, we were putting Alex Iwobi, we were putting Ademola Lookman in a 10 position where it was not effective. This was somebody that we watched on the far left in the AFCON and was dazzling and giving all of the goals. Moses Simon on the wing, we're always going to give you the goals. So why are you putting Samuel Chukwueze, putting Moses Simon as a pair with Victor Osimhen? So these are some of the tactics, and I just have that feeling that once you see the lineup on Saturday, you already know what we're going to play. You already know we're going to, except we are just waiting for moments of brilliance. And everybody that's going to go to Uyo early, make sure he eats very well, because eventually it may not be saying a heartbreak, everybody will carry come out. Because I to be honest, I don't want to be a prophet of doom. I know my only saving grace for having a glimpse of hope for World Cup is the players that we have. And the glimpse of we still going to the World Cup for me is very tiny. Very, very tiny. But even that glimpse that I currently have is because of the players that we have, not necessarily because I believe that we have a tactician or a coach. Because just like what Timothy has said, what I've said is line up, he gets it wrong majority of the time. In-game management, I don't see it in any situation. He waits very late till he makes his changes, and when he still does, it doesn't change anything about the setup. He's still just very adamant on this thing is going to work. The 4-4-2 I've put out is going to work. Or yeah, you just go and change this person and still play this certain type of way. And that's what I believe is very bad at. He has to be very dynamic. And if we want to play against Rwanda, it is African football at a point. Do you understand? We're playing against African football and all of that. If he can convince me that we can outplay the South Africans with his tactics, then I believe he's a very good coach. Because I know the South Africans are very good when it comes to playing football. So now if he can deduce a tactics that are going to make us outplay the South Africans, then I can believe that he's a very great coach. But with this one, with Rwanda, I believe that what we are going to be relying on is individual brilliance, and hopefully the boys also come to the party on that day and make sure that we at least get something to smile about. Even if we don't eventually qualify for the World Cup, let's at least try to win the rest of our games. Finishing in 4th position is very embarrassing for them as players, irrespective of the foreigner that's coming as a coach. For them as players of the Super Eagles as well, if we are finishing in a group that has Benin and all of the likes in 4th position, and Zimbabwe and all of the likes, and we're finishing in 4th position, I think it's really bad for us.
Timothy, it's talking about setup as well. Any changes do you want to see from how Eritrea will set his team up against Rwanda in that game on Saturday?
Honestly, left to me, let's play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 formation. Use your defenders, Osai Samuel, Olaino, Trustekong, and whoever you want to pair.
Or Bruno Yemechi or anybody on the left.
Yeah, anybody. Pair them. I would even prefer Olaino on the right, because that's where he plays most times at Nottingham Forest. But the defense is maybe not the best of problems. In midfield, I'll probably play a Ndidi and Oyendika in midfield, and then put a maybe Fisayo
Dele-Bashiru,
or maybe an Iwobi to play, because Iwobi can be very, very creative. Then maybe Fisayo brings in his energy. Straight up on the wings, Osimhen, Simon, or Lookman, maybe Chukwueze. I mean, it's easy. You don't have to force.
You can put Simon on the right
and maybe Lookman.
Yes, now Simon and Lookman
on the, or maybe put one of them on the bench, then bring them on, because you can know that they will bring in fresh energy. But what is playing Chukwueze as a right-sided midfielder and playing Iwobi as a left-sided midfielder? They're not playing Ademola Lookman as a
Simon 10 in front of him. You are putting Chukwueze and Simon on the same side.
It is not something I understand. Like, you have to play with the way your players want to play. And looking at the profile of players, Chukwueze has never played as a left-sided midfielder all his life. Iwobi has never played. Let's say Iwobi is a midfielder, but Lookman has never played as a 10 before all his life. I'm not sure Ndidi has played as a lone DM. Has played as a lone DM in every time where he has played at Leicester City.
It's not as strong anymore.
So what is the point when you say that this is what you want to use, and you know that there is a chance that our World Cup hopes is getting slipping away? So you have to, as much as I have given his praise, even though Nicolo has said that it's a player perspective, but still, if we are going to talk about the coach that led us to those 4 points, it's still him. There still has to be a lot that has to be done against these teams, and we have to ensure that we get our win. The way we have to play has to be very, very sharp, get the goal as early as possible if you can, then also make the changes as fast as you can. I noticed something with him at the AFCON. He made late changes. Even in the final game against Congo, a dead rubber game where we were already leading at least 1-0.
Yeah, the chance.
He did not make changes up until the 89th, 88th minutes. You could not give other players chance to play football. I do not understand.
That's being rigid.
I do not understand how a coach can
Very
be like that.
rigid.
So it is telling you what you may expect. But I hope all of these things change. And if it doesn't change, well, he gets the stick. Because I'm not the one that will get the stick. Even though it pains all of us, but we are the one that will be here analyzing, okay, the fact that he has not qualified us for the World Cup. Nobody will talk about Pesero not qualifying us for the World Cup.
Yeah, they see him.
Nobody will talk about
Pesero already has his place in our history.
You get
because people remember him for that AFCON 2023
yeah, the
run.
AFCON run, yeah.
Nobody, even as
He has a
Finidi,
medal.
nobody will talk about how Finidi did not qualify us for the World Cup. You are the one that will get the sticks. You and the players will get the sticks. So you know that it is important to get this qualification. Set up your team in a way they will play. We know Chukwueze. As much as Chukwueze can lose the ball on the wings, there's still that place of it will keep running at you.
yeah.
It will keep running at you at every instance. Is this Simon Moses or Ademola Lookman? They'll keep running at you. And when you keep running at defenders, especially wing backs, at every instances, of course, we know that Rwanda will maybe not be able to match us, especially in the first half. But when you have players running at you at every minute, at a point you get tired as a fullback. At a point, not even an Osimhen, as a defender, you are at every minute running. Every minute you are running.
Yeah.
At every minute you are looking at your side. Where is it coming from? At every minute you are trying to win an aerial duel. So these are all of these things. Work with the kind of players you have. Lookman, Osimhen in front, Lookman, Moses Simon or Chukwueze, find a way you use them on the wings, put Iwobi in a 10, Pierre and Oyendika, someone who can still move the ball better than Ndidi. He's also good at covering as well, even if he moves the ball forward. And then later on, bring in a Fisayo I say Fisayo bring in a Fisayo Dele Bashiru, someone who you know that you can bring in transition. Maybe you, at that point you now drop Iwobi deep or make your good substitutions, and maybe if you do not start Lookman or Simon or Chukwueze, then you bring him all of those players. You also have a Tolu, Aroko Dare. At that point, maybe you cannot change your formation. And even if you are going to use a 4-4-2, you can use wingers. We have seen 4-4-2 use wingers. Alex Ferguson days, Paul Scholes and maybe Giggs on the right, and who is always on the left. Yeah, I can't remember right now, but that's how you play football. Okay, Giggs and Cristiano Ronaldo at times, and maybe Tevez and maybe Babatov in those days, or maybe Wayne Rooney. I mean, it's easy. You get goals. You know the kind of players you have. They are runners. They are people that, even if they may not play, they may not have the best footballing knowledge in all of that, which I would not even say. I mean, we see our players play with clubs. We see them play with club side. We see Lookman with Atalanta, Osimhen. We've seen him at Napoli. We've seen him at Galatasaray. As much as we say Chukwueze did not find his feet running at AC Milan, in the few times he even came in for AC Milan, we saw what he could do. Yeah, created chances, scored goals, even at Villarreal. We've seen Moses Simon. I think he scored 2 goals at the weekend.
No, a goal and an assist.
So these are the kind of people you have to make sure that you play them in the way that they will deliver for you. As much as you say Moses Simon cannot cross the ball, or maybe he's not the good crosser, Moses Simon cannot take 10 crosses and maybe 2 or 3 would not find the head of Victor Osimhen.
And he would always find a way to put the ball in the box.
So I mean, that is something you need to really take advantage of. You can't be saying that
another thing is that it's
not
even been long that we played the AFCON. The AFCON was just last year, January, February. In as much as we felt like we didn't play very good enough football, we were winning. So if you are coming in and saying that you want to change our tactics and we are starting to play a very good style of football, then let the result just match it. If we have to play ugly and get the win and get to the World Cup, nobody minds at this point in time. Nobody cares what we played under Jose Pesedo. Everybody just remember that we were defeating Angola, defeating South Africa on the way to the final. Cameroon. And then we got to the final and it was very, very close before not winning the trophy. So if you want to be remembered you don't want to be remembered as that guy that just came and was trying to enforce a tactics on the eve of World Cup qualifiers. I mean, just do whatever that needs to be done. Put players in the position. If you want to instill your tactics and your ideas, if there's going to be enough time to do that, if we qualify for the World Cup, you are going to have camping exercises. You can go to Portugal for 3 weeks, 4 months with the players and go and do all of that. But for now that there's game every every 3 months, what you need is to win, and I feel like that's what he needs to do. It looks very stubborn to me, and I honestly, I will not be surprised if we don't pick all 3 points. I'm not trying to be a prophet of doom.
Exactly, because I wanted to say that a lot of people, why we feel the Super Eagles will likely, have no choice than to get 3 points. Let's not forget that this same Rwanda team came to Uyo around this time last year. They defeated the Super Eagles by 2-1. I remember that game very well. You talked about Samuel Chukwueze. They scored the first goal in that game. Then Rwanda scored 2 quick fire goals in the second 45, and they ran out winners. I think it was in the AFCON qualifiers as well. So this team will be playing in the minds of the Super Eagles players that you don't need to switch off at any point in the game. You need to, from the very get-go. At this point, I would feel no matter how it comes, just get the win. Whether you play well or you don't play well, just get the win. Give us that sense of hope as well.
We're the better side. No,
but we're going to still have a glimmer of hope that we might qualify for the World Cup. Do you still have any hope at all that we might, pull through in the end?
I'm not hopeful, but at the same time, it's not out of reach, so I can still hope a little. If it was
answer.
Yes, now if it was at the point where all chances, nothing
gone,
mathematically we can still qualify, even though it's difficult for
And as Nigerians, we've been conditioned to think mathematically when it comes to football, especially our football.
Yeah, I still would hope, and it will depend on these 2 games. These 2 games are very, very crucial. If we don't get something in these 2 games, then there's nothing to hope for anymore. But if we can win these 2 games, then of course hopes rises.
Yeah, from these 2 games, I think the September international break, which is this coming one, and the October international break, we'll get to know our fate, because the 4 match days left will be completed by the October international break. So we get to know where things stands. I think the playoff spot, it's also something, but it doesn't get any easier in the playoffs as well, and stuff like that.
The thing about that playoff, I don't even see, since they made the rule on how the draw would go, I've never seen that playoff as an option. So the 4 teams, best placed teams in Africa would play. It's not even sure that we would win that competition. So whoever wins, there'll be like a semi-final pairing. Let's say Mikolo versus Emmanuel, me against Joy. Then let's say whoever wins between Mikolo versus Emmanuel will face me, face the winner between me and Joy. Then whoever wins between me and Joy and you and Emmanuel will face each other. Then they'll pick one person to now go and play against all the intercontinental nations. So how is it sure that one of those? I think after that they'll pick maybe just 2. Yeah, there are just 2 chances for those people. So how is it sure that we'll get into that position? Because it's a whole lot. You have to first play your African brothers. Right? Then after that, you're not gonna meet your. We don't know if it beats.
And I just brought that as an option. If the top of the table is out of reach as well.
That playoff route, no be route.
It's also difficult.
If you want to qualify directly, because that's the easiest way you can do it. Win
as a big nation.
Honestly, win your group. No go they say you want to go play playoff. That playoff spot will most likely be won. This is not me trying to. It's most likely going to be won by one of these European nations, because we know now. You go see some of these teams where we say they're big, they would not get into their qualification distance, and they will see that as a stage in which they can get their qualification. So the playoff route is not a route for a team that is struggling to beat smaller teams in Africa. Nah.
Well, that game is like 5 p.m. kickoff time on Saturday. Then before we take on South Africa in the subsequent game,
go
South Africa.
Early.
So for any one of us will be there to cover the games.
I've decided that I don't think the returns on investment is worth. To be honest, I'm very skeptical about it, and I had plans.
I wish to go also.
I wish we were in a better standing. No, everywhere will not be so tensed, right?
True.
But this looks like the Ghana versus Nigeria Abuja kind of thing. It looks like this is like a make or break. So there's going to be lots of tension around the camp, and I don't want that personally. I don't want to be a part of that. Also, I think it has now also been proven that the new coach of the side doesn't really do well with so many media presence, and I don't want to be caught in that bed of spider web or that web of this one, that one. You have 10 minutes, you have 15 minutes. All of those annoyance that's going on, because Nigerians, we can always defect blame. Before you know, now the federation too start saying his media people, his content creators, and they'll forget they are the ones that appointed the coach in the first place. And before you know, they'll start defecting the blame and misuse of power here and there. So I just thought about it and like, I don't think is worth my economic investments, because now it's a lot of economic investment to cover the
Super Eagles game. Well, camp is open. The guys will be flying in any moment from now. For those who will be hoping to complete their deadline day transfers, hopefully it pulls through for all of them so that they come to camp looking happy, looking concentrated, and hopefully get the maximum points on Saturday 5 p.m. in Uyo against Rwanda. Well, we'll be here on Monday to talk about our game, how it pans out, and also preview.
Let's hope we come with a smile.
Let's hope we come with a smile and also preview the game against South Africa. We'll go on our final break on the show, and when we return, we'll look at all things NPFL Matchday 2 and how it went down over the weekend. Welcome back, guys. Still the Gliders on WGB TV. Guys, we're going to do this one really, really quick. The NPFL Matchday 2 went down over the weekend. It seems Monday Odige is really cooking up something right there at Bayelsa United. Maximum points from 2 games. Looking at the games from Matchday 2 over the weekend, Timothy, let me start with you. I mean, we saw ourselves in Lagos, Ikorodu City against El Kanemi Warriors. Pressure on Ali Kandi, or still early days? You want to give him some time?
He said at his press conference that a journalist asked him if there's pressure, and he said there's no pressure because the goal of the team is to find stability, ensure they keep their spots in the league. I know that what Ikorodu City did last season, of course, like a journalist asked him, if he doesn't do above what's finishing fourth, he has probably not done anything. But like he did say in his press conference, everything is about stability. I know that people want to see Ikorodu do further, but people should also not forget that majority of the team from last season, the names that many people know was just maybe Tosin Oyedekun and Shola Adelani. Kelechi Onwe was most times last season injured, so the major names were Tosin and Shola Adelani. So from the defense to the attack, even the goalkeeper, there's a major change. So you need to give this team time, and they've not considered, although they've also not scored, but it shows you that there's something that even as time goes on, they can build upon. Because if you play 2 games, especially going to Ilorin, also play a team like El Kanemi Warriors, who has a veteran coach in, what's his name now? Kabiru Dogo, he's also the coach of the Flying Eagles, and we know what he has done with the Flying Eagles. We even saw what he did with El Kanemi Warriors last season. You have to give the coach patience, and you have to be patient with the coach and have time. Give him time. For Bayelsa United also, kudos to Monday Odigi, because looking at his years at Bendel Insurance also, it was someone that always started the first stanza of the season very, very well. And it always helped his team not battle relegation. So maybe that's where, because Bayelsa United from the last 2 seasons, they've always battled relegation and survived somehow. So starting the season on a very, very good note is something good for them. So we hope they take it up from there.
Mikolo, quick one for you. Which of the results over the weekend
I think
entices you the most?
where it's currently bothering me is Plateau United. They also lost to Katsina United at home. Shola Adegu, 2 games, 2 losses. Currently bottom of the league.
The pressure is on.
The pressure is on, and it's not really looking good for him. Also, I feel like for also Shooting Stars, my guy, they got a point in Bendel, very great one for them. Nuruddin Aweru and Oganla, and really looking good. It's still very early days, so you can't really predict anything. But the NPFL is back. I'm very excited about it.
But it's good to always pick points on the first stanza.
I think also, I think also for Ikorodu City, I think they would benefit so much from the pressure that they don't put on the coach. That's what they did. Something they did last season as well. And I also want to remind fans that this time last season as well, Ikorodu City did not have any points. There was 0 points because and eventually still went on to do great things. So they can still always pick up from where they left off.
And I saw while you were around the stadium, any potential that you might be back playing with the team as well?
I do not know, but like we heard in the news that there was a deal that collapsed, or the club returned him. Let me not say collapse. So I don't know what's cooking, but let's watch out for what
exactly.
Let's
watch out and say, and if he comes out, it's going to be a huge addition to the team as well, because they need that presence, that leader at the defense line for Ikorodu City. Well, Bayelsa United and Warri Wolves, the only team with maximum points so far after 2 games, first and second on the log. That's as much as we can take
Emmanuel,
on the show today.
News,
another breaking news transfer. You want to break it? Break it for us.
Breaking. Eric Ten Hag has been sacked by Bayern Leverkusen.
Are you serious?
He just managed 2 Bundesliga games for them. What? Decision made by the clubs.
What's the source, please?
Fabrizio Romano. Exclusive. Eric Ten Hag has just been sacked
what an end.
by Bayern
What
Leverkusen.
an end to the
Decision
show.
made by the club's hierarchy this morning. Our manager informed just now. That's crazy, guys. Just 2 games.
Guys, we'll see you on the next edition of The Gliders. Enjoy the rest of the week.